Good day, Bermuda. I have today delivered a letter to the Speaker of the House of Assembly, retiring from my position as a Member of Parliament. The decision to retire is a difficult one. My calling to public service is very strong. However, I have decided that now is the time to move to the next chapter and to bring new blood to the House of Assembly. I'm in my 27th year of unbroken parliamentary service to the people of Smiths Parish and the people of Bermuda. I was first elected to the House of Assembly on the 5th of October 1993, after a grueling primary election in 1992. I first joined the United Bermuda Party after the general election of 1989 on the advice and indeed the challenge of the courageous Anne Cartwright Decoota. I had the great pleasure to serve in the old dual-seat constituency of Smiths South with my wonderful running mate, the charismatic Jim Woolridge, for a period of 10 years. I replaced Jim's previous running mate, Tony Correa, who is still a constituent. Tony was always encouraging and supportive. I am the last continuously serving MP from the class of 1993. I am also one of only 2 MPs who are continuously serving from the 375th anniversary of Bermuda's Parliament in 1995 and also on the 400th anniversary, which was on Saturday past, the 1st of August 2020. It is ironic that before I was ever elected, the editor of one newspaper, Tim Hodgson, told me that I did not have a large enough ego to be successful at the game of politics. My good friend Eddie DeMello always told me, "Trevor, nice guys finish last, and you're a nice guy." Jim Woolridge called me Ralph Nader because I was interested in government reform, and he said that I marched to the beat of a different drummer. The chairman of the UPP selection committee said that selecting me as a candidate was the worst selection mistake he had ever made. In spite of all that, I have greatly enjoyed the privilege of long public service. My career has been exceptionally unusual. Before my parliamentary career, I was best known for battling against conscription abuses, and I successfully fought several cases resulting in hundreds of young men being released from unlawful military service. I also had developed an immigration practice and fought for the rights of guest workers and long-term residents. I was an irritant to the establishment. During my first 10 years of Parliament, I declined offers to serve as Deputy Speaker and also declined 2 offers of cabinet positions. While I, together with my friends, fought against an unwise independence initiative in 1995 and the infamous McDonald's case in 1996. I'm also proud to say that in the 1990s I initiated the Members' Register of Interest for Members of Parliament, and I shepherded a bill which opened the accounts of charities for public inspection. These were all in the days when backbenchers were supposed to be seen and not heard. I also fought for the creation of the Working Resident Certificate in 1998. This gave long-term resident work permit holders some rights of permanency in Bermuda. After the PLP's election victory in 1998, this eventually became the Permanent Resident Certificate. I was part of the pressure group, the Coalition on Long-Term Residents, during that period of time. Eventually, my efforts led to my being permanently expelled from the UBP in 2001. The then leader of the UBP, Grant Gibbons, said that my suspension from the UBP whip was permanent. It lasted almost 3 years. I retained my seat in the House of Assembly. During this period, I served as the president of the Bermuda Bar Association from 2001 until 2003. I was the only bar president to simultaneously serve as a member of Parliament. I sat on the Bar Council for 11 years. In 2002, I was also greatly honored to be knighted by the President of Portugal for my service to the Portuguese community in Bermuda. In 2003, I was readmitted to the UBP whip in time for the general election when the UBP lost 4 seats. I have the late Eddie DeMello and the late Quentin Edness to thank for their support during that period in the wilderness. Another great love of mine has been culture. For 20 years, I served as a trustee of the Bermuda Maritime Museum, now the Bermuda National Museum. I was honored to serve as chairman from 2004 to 2006. Again, this was a first for a sitting MP to serve as chairman of Bermuda's premier cultural institution. The museum vastly broadened its scope during that period of time to cover defense heritage, the Atlantic slave trade, the West Indies, and the Azorean connections to Bermuda. I enjoyed helping to bring Bermuda under UNESCO provisions for underwater heritage and shepherding the completion of the lease to the National Museum of HM Casemate Barracks. For many years, I have been known as the museum's champion in Parliament for the conservation of cultural heritage. It was a long slog, particularly in the days when the House had many overnight sessions and I had a young family. There were many sacrifices. I am greatly appreciative of an incredibly close, loving, and supportive family, especially my cousin June. In addition, I owe a great vote of thanks to all of those who served on my branch committee over the many years. That grassroots support is essential for a successful candidate. The second period of being in government from 2012 to 2017 was challenging. The OBA had a tiny majority and had to rely on a PLP speaker. Nevertheless, heroic actions were taken to turn our economy around, and frankly, the outcome was nothing short of a miracle. In particular, the rebranding of Bermuda by the hosting of the America's Cup was a tremendous achievement. May there be many more such events for celebrities and billionaires. I give thanks to our premiers, Craig Cannonier and Michael Dunkley, for their sacrifice and vision, as well as to all my OBA colleagues as cabinet ministers and as backbenchers. I greatly enjoyed serving firstly as Minister of Public Works, then as Minister of Health and Environment, and latterly spent 3 years as Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs. Two outstanding achievements in my final ministry were the reform of criminal law procedure and the passing of the Bribery Act. I am also very proud of the Civil Partnership Act, originally intended as an interim step of moderation in a divided community, but was finally passed under the PLP with a change of title and minor changes. We should have moved to full equality by now. I encourage the government to do the right thing and stop playing games. One piece of unfinished business is the Fraud Act, which I tabled, but which was not debated just before the general election in 2017. This much-needed reform must be moved forward as Bermuda is coming in for more criticism for being backward in this area. I would like to give thanks to my permanent secretary, Rosemary Tyrrell, whose wisdom in the mysterious ways of the civil service helped me on many occasions, and for his incredible legal knowledge and work ethic to my consultant, Richard Ambrosio, a worthy winner of the Dame Lois Brown Scholarship. I am grateful to all of the strong core of civil servants with whom I have had the pleasure to work. There are serious weaknesses in our civil service, as pointed out by a number of independent reviews, but there's also a strong core that can be built upon. I would like to thank all of my OBA colleagues for their hard work, sacrifices, and dedication under difficult circumstances. That which we all have in common is greater than our differences. The message that we must all work together to be successful is a true one. Those that try to divide and conquer are only doing a great disservice to our island home. Bermuda needs a vibrant and outspoken opposition to hold the government to account. It is very tough when we are so outnumbered and with the government happy to be dismissive of tradition and democratic rules. Unfortunately, I must comment upon the continuing language of racial hatred and misogyny spewed by a few PLP members of the House of Assembly. The Premier and the Speaker should long since have put a stop to this behavior. and the fact that they have not can only lead to the assumption that they approve. The Speaker must be above politics and should not be advocating for independence, and he should apply the standing orders of the House fairly to both sides. Unfortunately, this is not happening now. On a last and final note, I will mention political corruption. Unfortunately, there was ample evidence from the then Auditor General raising red flags on the high likelihood of political corruption in numerous cases during the period of the PLP government before the general election of 2012, and implicating some who still serve. These issues were again explored by the Commission of Inquiry headed by former Court of Appeal Justice Sir Anthony Evans. That commission's final report made a number of referrals to the Bermuda Police Service. It is well past time for these matters to be dealt with by law, or Bermuda will continue to see its reputation diminishing. I undertook a civil case in the U.S. federal courts in Boston against Leahy Group, which only failed on a technicality, which the judge noted could go to either state court or to a Bermuda court or to criminal prosecution. That indicates the strength of the substantive case. Furthermore, the PLP government could have appealed the matter. This was all a developing area of the law. In any case, a deliberate choice was made by the PLP to take no further action. The Leahy civil case was part of a broader program of combating corruption and recovering the proceeds of crime. The program included a lawsuit aimed squarely at allegations of mismanagement and overspending of the Port Royal Development Project and 10 other cases, all in various stages of readiness. My hope is that a future Attorney General will see fit to pick up the mantle so that these cases can eventually see the light of day. All of these cases cost the Bermuda taxpayer nothing. They were funded from the Confiscated Assets Fund, set up for that very purpose. I did my best to serve with honesty, courage, and integrity for my 27 years, and I wish all Bermudians and all residents the very best for the future. Thank you.